This is StoryRobot. Welcome to r/Pettyrevenge. I have 5 petty stories for you today. Our first story is, play stupid games, win supid prizes. Well, let's start off. I'm an Indian. This morning I got a message on my FB from a guy from US. No hi, hello. He straight up asked me to send Bob and Vagana. I ignored him. He did this 4 to 5 times. I asked why he was doing this. He repeated Bob and Vagana. When I didn't reply he said dumb mother beep, can't you read? I was understandably mad. I thought, he wants Bob's and Vagana, he'll get it. I searched the internet for the hottest nude I could find. I then got a photo of his mom from his FB photos and got my friend to Photoshop her head to the nude. I then sent the photo to him with the caption, here's your Bob and Vagana. Enjoy. I also took a screenshot of our conversation prior to the photo and sent it to his mom, friends, etc. I then got a message from him saying how everyone is calling him to reprimand him, how I'm in beephole. Our next story is, landlord always keeps security deposits. Game on. Many moons ago, after my divorce, I saved up enough money to move from my apartment, a building with 12 units, and buy a house. I was really excited and told my favorite neighbor. He told me not to even bother trying to get my security deposit back because the landlord never returned security deposits. I turned in my notice. The landlord didn't bother to do a final walkthrough. After 30 days, I emailed her and asked about my deposit. No response. I filed a small claim court case for the deposit. This lovely lady's strategy was to hire a lawyer and bump it up to the next higher court. Most people quit after she bumped it up to the next higher court. I had some spare time, and have always loved a good game of strategy. I double-checked with the court to make sure I could represent myself, FYI anyone can. I then sent a certified letter to her attorney asking for a full disclosure of the evidence being presented. A huge thank you all those TV shows that explain what full disclosure is. A week later I received a call from the lawyer called asking what I wanted in order to avoid court settlement accomplished. The petty revenge. I let my neighbor how to get his deposit back when he was ready to move. He let the other tenants know how to get their deposits back. Our next story is, enjoy your 4 a.m. wake-up message. I work in the TV and film industry driving specific department equipment to location and sets. Obviously the major thing to this is that I can't be a minute late. Being the good little minion I am, I always made sure I was at location 15 to 30 minutes before the setup time. Note it takes 5 to 15 minutes to unload. However, this was apparently not good enough for the department. No matter the time I was to be there 1 hour earlier, complaining they never knew where I was with their equipment. It was only the two complaining, but I shrugged it off as they just wanted to do unload first and do nothing for an hour. As it would be unapproved overtime and unpaid I held out. The line producer, not wanting to deal with them, told me he would blanket approve the overtime. I did not like leaving my house at 4 a.m., and that's when I decided to be petty. The moment I was about to drive, each one of them received a WhatsApp of my live notification, that I would diligently only share for 15 minutes before doing so again until I arrived. My drive would be a minimum of 1 hour and I knew they never kept their phones or silent or could even mute me in case something occurred. The head honcho complained to the producer via email about the WhatsApp messages waking him and his immediate underling, to which producer replied with my boss CC in that this is what he was complaining about and that I have addressed and actioned his complaints and if there were a problem to speak to me directly. He did not speak to me directly. I have continued to do so, with 3 weeks left of the job to go. You can bet your bottom that will continue to. Our next story is a nice petty sibling story. Older brother called me dumb. We're in the same class now. When I, 14 female, was younger my older brother told me that I was stupid and dumb, because I was a grade lower than him. He's 13 months older and just told me he was smarter. Just the average thing a sibling can say to annoy another sibling. And it annoyed me so much, to the point where I spent an entire year studying and just studying and getting good grades. Eventually, at the end of the school year, I was told my grades were amazing and that I would be moved up. So, first day of school, we are in the same class and I walked up to him and went, "Who's dumb now, beephole?" And he just laughed and high-fived me. Now, he gets annoyed when I bring it up. And I am so proud of myself. Now, I'm in year 11 and the youngest one in my year and we're graduating at the same time whether he likes it or not. I will never regret being this petty. Our last story of today is, neighbor antagonized me all year, so I quite literally gave him a taste of his own medicine. In college, I had a neighbor who will henceforth be Benny, like that BFAT from New Vegas. And this neighbor, he was not a considerate neighbor. For example, he watched TikTok at 3 a.m., connected to his Bluetooth speaker, which he so politely pointed directly at the wall to improve sound quality. He piled his garbage in front of my door when it didn't fit on the sides of his door, that I had to cut a path out when I wanted to leave. He dumped piss from a bottle under my door when he thought I reported him for one of his many crimes against the people of the floor. Absolute degenerate of a neighbor. I was, however, fairly friendly with one of his roommates. On one crisp November evening, this roommate let me in on a little social experiment he was conducting. In Benny's closet, in a black garbage bag, was a pumpkin from Halloween. Originally, it was just supposed to smell up the closet until Benny found it, but Benny never did find it. Move-out day was in late December. I was packing up in my room, and my roommate comes back and says, "Hey, what's up with the bag of soup outside?" After some initial confusion, we discover that this fine bag of moldy, wet, desecrated remains is from the pumpkin. We decided that the best course of action for this beloved sack of soup was placed caringly and carefully in front of Benny's door, since he must have misplaced it. Benny was not fond of this development. He knocked on my door, banging like the headboard of a wedding bed, and demanded to know why I had put my garbage in front of his door. So, I reminded him that it was, actually, his garbage. In fact, it was actually his compost at that point. Obviously, he apologized for the misunderstanding, took out his own garbage, and left me alone, and we both went our separate ways, since we only needed to tolerate each other for a few hours. No, actually, believe it or not. He balled it up and threw it at my head, the only logical choice, really. This angry water balloon sailed through the sky, through my door, and into my bed frame. I readied a nearby jar of salsa for the coming battle, but he had already turned tail and waddled back to his room as quickly as his enormous girth would allow. Now that the history is set, it's time for revenge part you've all been waiting for. I went over to the pumpkin, which luckily was still contained in its fine plastic vessel. So I crept, ever so slowly, towards Benny's room, pumpkin bag in hand, shot put style. When Benny opened the door, we made brief eye contact. I saw him, he saw me, he saw Excalibur in my hand, and in that moment he knew his fate. And as he moved to close the door, I loosed the pumpkin on its most holy journey. I can say that I understand how Olympians feel when they break a record with a Herculean act of strength as the pumpkin sailed through the door, into the side of Benny's chair, and exploded as furiously as one might atop a toilet on Taco Tuesday. The black fireball, the stench, everywhere, all over everything. The ceiling, the floor, his clothes, his heater, him. Everything. Like the morning after a fresh snowfall, if that snow was black as night and smelled of rotting fruit. Best part. His roommates and everything he owned was shielded by what I can only explain as angels sent to protect him from my righteous wrath. Thank you for watching. Error. Problem detected. Not enough subscribers. Please subscribe, like and comment.